Hey guys, thank you for joining me. Another episode of Metal Album Reactions coming right at you. This is going to be a good one, I have a feeling. I have a lot of respect for the musicians that are involved in this particular project. We're talking the one and only Christian Munzer. I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, someone please correct me in the comments section. That guy, Necrophagist, Obscura, and Alkaloid, and Thulkandra. Don't want to forget about that band. One of the best tech death guitarists of all time. Hans Grossman, one of the best technical death metal drummers of all time. And I think he also plays guitar too, but I could be wrong on that. They're teaming up again for another Alkaloid album. Their first one that came out, Malkuth Grimoire, came out, I want to say 2015. That was excellent. Loved that album. So, yeah, I've already seen that these guys work well together. I can't remember who else is in the band, but those are my two favorites, right? And those are the guys that sort of grab the headlines when we're talking about tech death. This album is called Liquid Anatomy, and it just came out not too long ago. I want to say it came out this month in May. Yeah, it's supposed to be, I guess, related to tech death, stuff like Obscura, Gorod, Irreversible Mechanism, yeah, which makes sense based on their first album. This thing is over an hour long. It's an hour and 4 minutes, and it's only 8 songs. The last song, Rise of the Cephalopods, is 19 minutes and 41 seconds. So that's going to be a barn burner for sure. I want to get into this thing. I don't know how much of it I'm going to film tonight. I'm going to see how it goes. It's already pretty late. You know, if I can get halfway through it, then maybe if I can get through the first 5 tracks and leave the last 3 for tomorrow, I think I'll feel pretty good. I don't want to give you guys a reaction where I'm all sleepy and fumbling over my words and don't know what I'm saying, because that'll just be a waste of your time and mine. So again, this is going to be my last hand-picked album reaction of albums, new albums that I want to react to and listen to. After that, we're going to start getting to subscriber requests. Right now I have 3 subscriber requests, which when we're talking album reactions, okay, 3 subscriber requests is actually a lot. It's going to take a little bit to get through that. And then we had somebody recommend another Amorphous album. You know who you are. I hear you. I'm going to go ahead and wait to release that a little bit further down the line, just because I want to spread the wealth around a little bit. I'm not going to tell you guys what these albums are. These subscriber requests are coming up. If you pay attention to the comment section, you'll already know what they are anyway, so I don't feel the need to go into that here. But enough about that. This is Alkaloid Liquid Anatomy. This thing's been getting pretty good reviews online, so I'm curious to see what's going on with this thing. We're going to dive right in here with the first track. This is called Colonel Panic, and it is 5 minutes and 41 seconds. A little ambient, huh? All right.
But the flesh is stuck in evolution's lazy stride. The vision dies, the door is locked. Time and again, the dreams denied. Out to the somatic terror that binds our world together.
The first minute 45 of this track sounded straight up like 80s prog to me. That was crazy. I don't know where that came from. I did not expect that out of Alkaloid of all bands. Sounded almost like, yeah, some 80s prog band or like Haken or something. Very weird. The kind of the cool effects on their voices made it sound, reminded me of a lot of 80s prog, and just the melody. I don't know if they're just trying to play around with that sound or if they're like playing a joke or what that is. But maybe there will be more of a progressive lean to this album. Maybe that'll be a theme that they return to again and again. You know, if this ended up being a progressive death metal album, then I'd almost feel bad because I've already reacted to one of those on this channel. And my goal is to kind of like spread the wealth around a little bit, like I've said. But yeah, that was kind of cool. But then they went into that, and then the the more traditional tech death shit started. And I just have to say, man, his rhythm guitar playing, like the guitar rhythms that are in this song and in Alkaloid's music are just fucking insane. It's like that old school movie with Alec Baldwin, and he's giving that speech to those guys. He's saying, "Never stop closing." For this, I feel like the motto is never stop shredding, because the shredding never stops. It's constant. Even with the guitar rhythms and riffs, there's just constant shredding happening. It's just a flurry of fucking notes right at your eardrums. You know, it's a lot to contend with all at once. But I love that kind of shit. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let the rest of this play out. I was just kind of like, that beginning kind of threw me for a major fucking loop. I did not expect that at all. So, bravo Alkaloid. You know, you threw me a right uppercut that I didn't see coming right at the beginning of the fight. That was pretty cool. You hear this? I love doing that, man. I love when bands can kind of blow me away and I have to give it up to them. It makes my job that much better, because I love good music, and if I never did that, it would mean that I wasn't enjoying what I was hearing. That definitely sounded like Rush on steroids. I felt like I could hear Neil Peart's drumming, like Alex Lifeson, if Alex Lifeson ever decided to be a shredder, you know? The only thing that was missing was Geddy Lee singing over the top, and for some of those sections. But they would go back and forth between that shit, which sounded more like prog, and then they'd let's like hop right on over into these death metal sections. So yeah, that was insane. I did not see that coming. I'm kind of blown away right now. At this point, I don't really know if that's going to be consistent through the album. I can't imagine that would be consistent through the entire album. If it is, it's definitely going to have to take some getting used to, because it's going to be so much of a departure from their first album, I feel. But I could definitely see them doing that on a track on their album, just to, you know, pay a little homage to progressive rock and progressive metal, you know, and show that they can play in that arena as well. It's just that I'm a little bit perplexed on why they would choose the first track, why they would make that the first track on the album. If it indeed is not going to be indicative of the way the rest of the album sounds, I don't really know why they would put it first, but maybe this is going to be a proggy death metal album. Let's just say, if you could imagine what would have happened if Rush had recruited Chuck Schuldiner to play guitar in like the late 80s. Yeah, it's a pretty fucking weird, but we're going to find out if that's going to be consistent. This next track is track 2. It's called As Decreed by Laws Unwritten, and it is 8 minutes and 9 seconds. That's insane, man. I don't know what to say about that particularly. I think that that's like, it's hard because I really love the playing. I think it's being played really well, and I love the execution. I think it sounds heavy, it sounds badass, it sounds great, all those things. But there's a lot of Gojira in here, man, like a lot. Almost, there's so much of a Gojira influence in this song that I'm almost choking on it. That first minute, man, that sounds just like From Mars to Sirius, you know? I think that's the title of that album. Came out in like the early 2000s. It's one of their seminal albums. I guess Rush got their song, the first track. The second track is Gojira's track. But it's not just Gojira either. There's some definite odes to Chuck Schuldiner in here too, man. You want to talk about some of the galloping riffs, those gallopy death metal riffs that just like make you want to headbang. That's definitely Chuck, man. That's, if you listen to that, sounds like death right there. Tell me that doesn't sound like Flesh and the Power It Holds. Tell me that does not sound like that song. That is crazy, man. They are really wearing their influences on their sleeve. But the thing about it is, with some bands, especially younger bands, like they tend to do that too. But with them, there's almost an amateurish quality about it. It's almost as if they can't help but do that. You know, because they're still trying to come into their own as musicians, and the whole originality thing hasn't really, they haven't turned the corner on that yet, and they're kind of just rehashing ideas that they learned from other musicians, more or less. These guys have been around the block, you know, 1,000 times. These guys are veterans in the game, so them doing this, it's given me a different vibe. It's like they're showing off their versatility. And they're almost showing, they're like, look at us. We can implement these different styles, and we can copy, in a way, these different bands and what they do as an homage to them, to show that we love their music, but also as a way to show, like, look at what we can do, kind of thing. I don't know. I'm torn on it, man. I like it. I really like it. I don't really spend a lot of time listening to music that's directly derivative of other music. I just don't resonate with that, really. So I'm not saying it's bad. It's obviously very well done. I want to hear what these guys can do. I don't really want to see or hear how well they can emulate bands like Rush or Gojira. So it's interesting. I'll just say that. I'm not, you know, totally against it. I'm kind of still trying to feel my way into the music a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and let the rest of this puppy play out, and we'll see what's going on. That's one of the heaviest guitar tones I've ever heard. That shit sounds like it could be on the leading edge, the cutting edge of like the largest hatchet in the world. A hatchet several stories high that fucking Godzilla would use to like cut buildings in half or something. Like that's so heavy, man. God. And the soloing in here, man, the guitar leads are just out of this world, man. This guy is from another planet. Listen to this shit, man. God, dude, I felt my like entire rib cage just fall in on itself on that. Like, just I don't know why that made me want to like shrink. I feel like embarrassed to be in the presence of something that cool. That is so insane, man. It sounds silly to say that, but you get what I'm saying. It's almost like when you hear somebody do something that cool. Sometimes it can make you feel really good and you're like, holy shit, man, that's amazing. Like, oh man, you remind me of how awesome life is and make me feel like I can do amazing things too. And something like that, I'm just like, holy shit, let me go like crawl away into a corner somewhere and just like hide because I'm half scared of it. Like, as a someone who used to play guitar, like, oh my God, dude. That is crazy. One thing I will say about this is that it sounded very weird, especially the last couple of minutes of this thing. I'll back it up to a specific part that kind of kicked the whole thing off, because they had this long kind of softer section here, a little bit, atmospheric, ambient, instrumental, whatever, and then they started. Okay, so they had that kind of softer section, and then they went into one of the heaviest riffs that you're going to hear on an album this year. And they rode that for a little while, and then they switched it up and went into this weird kind of like gore guts kind of area. I don't even know what you would call it, but it's sort of like a avant-garde weird death metal sort of thing, and I'll play some of that real quick. Weird off-kilter kind of yelled slash screamed vocals don't really help either. They kind of just make it even that much more off-putting and weird. I don't know what the fuck just happened to, just me listening to this thing. It was like a big bomb just went off in this room. I'm gonna move on. I don't really know what else to say other than what I've already said. I liked the song, but yeah, it's something where I think I'll definitely have to go back and listen to it again to really process everything that's going on, because it's like I remember back in 2011 or 2012, Spawn of Possession came out with this album called In Curso, and that was a tech death album, and that's similar to what these guys are doing. And I remember hearing some of the tracks off of that album initially and being like, man, there's so many parts of that song that I need to go back to and listen to again. Like, this last track, As Decreed by Laws Unwritten, gives me that same feeling. I just feel like Alkaloid, I know I'm starting to ramble, but I feel like Alkaloid had the opportunity to kind of create a second issue or a reissue of their first album, basically, with a whole new 10 more songs of the same type of shit. And they deliberately didn't go that route. They went into this sort of progressive, weird, little bit avant-garde, kind of death metal kind of path and road. And it's some of the strangest death metal I've heard in a long time. Rivers of Nil was strange. At Rivers of Nil, you could tell like those guys were going for modern prog mixed with death metal and jazz even mixed with death metal, and there was a lot of stuff going on that album. But this is starting to edge into like, I feel like avant-garde territory where it's just the music just sounds weird. You know, Rivers of Nil never made me feel weird or awkward or like off-putting. Like I feel like we're starting to get into that territory with this album. So we're gonna move on to track 3. This is called Azagthoth. Is that how you say that? Azagthoth? Anyway, that's 5 minutes and 38 seconds. We'll see what's going on with this thing. Alright, that sounded like the guy from Haken. Is that him?
What words can convey the absurdity of living inside out like abyss? We call our universe. Who are we in the light of such dimensions? Who am I to even begin to tell the tale?
I don't know. It sounds like somebody from fucking Prague, man. I don't know who that is, but that sounds like a famous voice from Prague. At first, when I first heard it, I immediately thought Haken. Yeah, this sounds more like Meshuggah, maybe a little bit of Mastodon, I don't know. Love the riffs here, though. This is probably, out of all the songs I've heard so far, this is the one that most closely resembles what I expected out of this album and from this band. But it's still progressive. This is going to be a progressive death metal album. Not in the same way that Slug J was, but in a little bit of a different way. I think the Slug J album was progressive in the riffs and the choices as far as melodically what they were actually playing with the guitars. Gave it sort of a futuristic progressive sound. This, I feel, is progressive even to a more extreme level. You know, it's sort of like they're deliberately evoking the sound of certain artists that are stalwarts of the progressive metal genre and the prog rock genre. But those vocals that we just heard, man, those are definitely, I have to find out who that is. I've heard vocals like that on many a prog album, so it would make sense that they would fit on this album. I'm so dumbfounded right now, man. This is not at all what I thought this was going to be. This is crazy. So we're going to go ahead and let this rest of the song finish out. I can't even hate on these songs, dude. These songs are so fascinating. Like, I feel like I've discovered an exotic species of bird somewhere that no one else knows about. Like, that hasn't been indexed in the category of species yet, you know, by biologists or zoologists or whoever studies that sort of thing. I feel like I've stumbled upon an alien artifact and I'm just looking at it and I'm, you know, just perplexed, dumbfounded. Like, I don't know, you know, what to say or how to really understand it. Right, it doesn't help that I waited until this late to start this, but yeah, it just seems to me like they're making it as weird, as avant-garde as possible. It's very progressive. They keep the music's constantly changing. There's a little bit of repetition, but not much. It doesn't feel like anyway, and the leads are just from another planet. There's so many different bands that this sounds like. It just feels like they're deliberately putting sounds from other bands into the music to kind of make it even more of a mind fuck, you know. Like this song in particular reminded me of like Meshuggah, Mastodon. Really, that's about it. But then the leads again. I mean, this solo section, guys, you've got to be kidding me with this. Yeah, top that, bedroom guitarists. You guys learning songs in your bedrooms, I dare you to play this fucking song. It's not happening, man. You know, these songs are not going to go down in the annals of metal history as some of the greatest death metal songs ever recorded. I'm not saying that because they're subpar songs, but what I am saying is that they're so strange and odd that I think that this is only going to appeal to a very niche audience within even the death metal community. I don't know how many death metal fans are going to be able to get down with this, man, because it's just, what's on the cover even? What is that? This is, the album's called Liquid Anatomy. We're probably talking about some sort of alien species here, and that's exactly what this sounds like. This sounds like their version of like extraterrestrial or alien metal. I love that kind of stuff. I mean, I loved it with Rings of Saturn, but Rings of Saturn was a little bit campy. Even though they had their moments, right? They're one of my favorites of bands that have this sort of theme. But this genuinely sounds like it's not human, you know? There's just a very odd, alien-like quality about it. I'm blown away by that song. Yeah, we're going to go ahead with the fourth track. This is called Liquid Anatomy. This is the title track, 5 minutes and 13 seconds. Enjoying it so much I forgot to stop it. They come in with this acoustic section. It reminds me a little bit of like stuff off of King Diamond, some of his albums. The way that guitar sounds and sort of the melody that he was playing, that was really interesting. But when it got heavy, man, it got freaking heavy. You could take a riff like that to the bank and cash it today. That shit is so on point, man. They have a great way of creating riffs that they know are going to create, you know, some headbanging and get people fired up, and it's not just all technicality all the time. You know, I think these guys are obviously very musically diverse. Like as far as the rock realm is concerned, like they have a lot of different influences, and they're paying homage to a couple of different bands, or maybe several different bands. They understand. They're like, you know, we could do the tech death thing and just have noodly guitar all over the place and all the time, and just try to be as flashy as possible with our guitar playing, and there is stuff on here that's very flashy, but this is an example. This song right here, Liquid Anatomy, where it's not necessarily trying to be flashy. It's just trying to, this is a pretty cool standard heavy metal tune right here. It's got an acoustic intro, and then it breaks into, this heavy, old school heavy metal rhythm. It's like, they're just saying, hey, we can do this too, basically. So yeah, I'm impressed so far. I like this song a lot, actually. I think so far, if I was going to be honest, my favorite two tracks would be As Decreed by Laws Unwritten and Azek Thoth. I think those are my two favorite tracks so far. But this one's good too. This isn't a bad song by any means. And by the way, Colonel Panic, the first song, isn't bad either. I just, that one kind of threw me for a loop. So I'm going to finish this one out. This song sounded like traditional heavy metal more so than any of the songs so far. That solo was pretty dope. It was soulful. I loved the guitar melodies, especially towards the end. I'll replay some of it for you, but... Yeah, it sounds like it's pulled from the 80s. I don't know, who was the first band to do that, but this definitely sounds like they're trying on this hat. They're like, we're going to play a more traditional heavy metal track. I thought that the fact that they made this the title track speaks a lot. It shows that their intentions with this album was to make something totally unexpected, totally different. And everybody thought going into this thing they knew what they could expect from Alkaloid based on the personnel and based on the sound of their first album. But they're basically showing a middle finger to everybody. They're like, screw you guys, we're going to do something totally off the wall, right? Totally outside of our wheelhouse, or what you would say is outside of our wheelhouse. But we're going to do it. We're going to go there. We're going to pull it off and leave you speechless. I think that's what they're going for. Yeah, this is way not what I expected with this thing, but I still enjoy it. I still think that based on the way the rest of these 4 songs play out, and we still have a 20-minute mammoth at the very end of this thing, based on the way the rest of these play out, I'll probably still purchase this thing and just ride around and kind of soak in the different riffs and the different influences, but we'll see. So I want to move on to track 5. This is called In Turmoil's Swirling Reaches, and the track is 6 minutes and 38 seconds. Great job, Alkaloid. You guys made a modern prog song here. Modern prog masterpiece here. This is so cool, man. I don't know. It sounds almost like it's reaching Spiral Architect levels of weirdness, though. I don't know if, like, the bass is as prominent as it is in Spiral Architect, and the guy's voice doesn't sound exactly like it, and there's no keyboards yet, but I'm waiting. The keyboards are going to come in anytime. Anytime. I'd be willing to bet somebody, you know, a gold coin that there's going to be some keyboards on this album at some point in these last 4 tracks. And this doesn't feel like progressive death metal to me. This feels like modern prog to me. I loved the sections where they get really, really intense and they reach kind of a peak. The drums would be going crazy and get really, really, really heavy and go up there. And then pretty much just drop, fall off a cliff, and then it's real quiet, and all you hear is the bass guitar, right? And then it kind of gets into some proggy weirdness after that. They did that a couple of times. I thought that was pretty fun. I love when artists do stuff like that. It's kind of fun. It's a little tongue-in-cheek. You know, it's pretty playful. They're just playing around with the sound, basically, is what it sounds like. It sounds like these guys probably listened to their fair share of this music, and they got into the studio and they were like, hey, let's just play around with this sound and see what we can come up with. And I think they're doing a fantastic job so far. There's a lot of good modern prog out there right now, and you know, it's kind of an area that there's already some heavy hitters in there, so it's hard to kind of muscle up on them. And I don't know if Alkaloid's going to be able to redefine it with this record and what kind of an impact they're going to have on the prog scene, but this definitely fits into that universe. You know, this is some dyed-in-the-wool prog metal right here, so we're going to go ahead and finish the rest of this track out. Yeah, his voice actually sounds pretty good, man. I mean, it's not my favorite in Prague, but you know, he's got a good voice. I didn't think is this Hans Grossman? Is that him doing the vocals on this album? Somebody in the comment section can help me out with that. Yeah, I think his voice sounds really good. It's obviously been modified, but it fits with the track, and I think that the different notes that he's hitting, you know, it really lends to that progressive metal sound and feeling. I think he's doing a good job with that. The solos are just fucking ridiculous, okay? This guy, I think his name is Munzner. I could be wrong. But Christian M, the guy from Obscura, Necrophagus, that guy who's playing guitar on this album, his leads and solos are just unreal, dude. I can't get over it. They're just mind-melting. I would love for this guy to put out like a series of videos that's like a guitar clinic, and maybe he's already done that. But dude, this guy, I would put this guy up with anybody in the modern metal scene as far as guitar chops, like raw chops and soloing, and riff writing too. I would put this guy up next to anybody. I think this guy doesn't get enough credit. Yeah, he's freaking unreal. This song was great. It's a little bit strange hearing it from Alkaloid. I actually love stuff like that and stuff. Part of me thinks that if this wasn't Alkaloid and this was some new and upcoming band, I'd be like, oh my god, this is the greatest shit ever. It's like techie prog. I'm trying to, because of who it is, I'm trying to get used to these musicians playing music like this. And I don't know if I'll be able to truly appreciate it to its full extent on the first listen. I think it's going to take me a little while. Because every time I hear stuff like this on this album, all I can think of is, holy crap, it's the guys from Necrophagus, making me kind of freak out. But I thought that was a great song. I mean, that had a lot of, like when I listen to Prague, that's the kind of stuff that I want to hear. It was interesting, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, the solo was ripping, definitely not boring, the antithesis of boring. It's just great shit. So I'm going to move on to track 6 here, Interstellar Boredom. This is 5 minutes and 5 seconds.
Stare at the stars and the fire that
I gotta stop this shit. This is crazy. This is a little bit like their first album, but it's got this marching kind of rhythm and beat to it and riff. Now, towards the middle of the track, some of the more technical death metal guitar rhythms and leads are starting to come in. And I just want them to come through with the death metal so bad, you know? It's like, God, I know it's there, you know? I know they could do it anytime they wanted to, and it's like, feels like they got bored with their first album and the way it sounded, and they wanted to do something totally different. And this song is the first song that really, I think, is a lot like their first album. It's still different, but it's a little bit more death metal. It's the name of the song is Interstellar Boredom. So that's why I'm like, okay, maybe they got bored with the sound on their first album and they wanted to kind of branch out. This is cool. This is cool as shit. So I'm gonna let the rest of it play out. Welcome to my favorite track on the album. Dude, that was insane, man. You've got to appreciate the death metal riffage and how fast he's playing, how fast the drums are. And it's not just about being fast. It's like the guy from Lost in Vegas, Ryan, made a great analogy. He said, you know, this sounds aggressive. This is almost like a muscle car, you know, that looks really, really fast. And you look at it and you're like, dude, that thing has got to be mean. You know, that thing's mean. That's got to be badass on the track. It's like, this is badass on the track. Okay, this is like some Formula One. I don't even follow racing, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. But this is some fucking drag racing shit right here, man. These guys can go from 0 to 100 so fast. The riffs are insane, man. It's like they're getting a little bit into Slug J territory on this track, I felt, especially the last 2/3. That was a badass track. I wasn't bored by that track. I know it's called Interstellar Boredom. I'll have to read into the lyrics of that thing, but that was great, man. That was really good. I'm going to have a lot of fun listening to that over and over and over again. And yeah, they just have an incredible ability to write the head-knocking, head-banging stuff, and to write the real kind of more cerebral, technical stuff too. But this album has been everything. You know, it's been a lot of different things, not just death metal, clearly. This is kind of what I was waiting for on this album. I was like, man, when are they going to drop like a fucking blistering, intense tech death song? And this song wasn't really that until maybe about the midpoint. In the last half of the song, it got a little bit more into that style. So I loved that track. I thought that was a great track. We're going to go ahead and move on to the 7th track. This is called Chaos, Theory, and Practice.
No need to please. Ain't you dazzled? Times of disease. An endless struggle.
Yeah, man. Shit. Ah. God, man. Yeah, this definitely started out with one of the best riffs on the whole album. Supreme death metal, man, like making me wanna. I wish I had long hair for that section. I could like fucking whip it around, you know. That was so damn cool. Like, what a way to start off a song. What a way to get people into a song. But then you notice at about 150, after doing that for a while, they started this crazy, like the music stopped very suddenly, and in a very jarring way they transitioned into this very avant-garde kind of section. That section from about 150 to about 320 reminds me a lot of bands like Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum, Diablo Swing Orchestra. It reminds me a little bit of like Mr. Bungle. It's just very off-kilter, very weird, and purposefully weird. And then even we're in the middle of a section right now, there's all kinds of ambient noise and shit, and I don't know if that's from the guitars or what, but I'll back it up a little bit. That's some Mr. Bungle shit right there, man. These guys have taken tech death and made it prog and avant-garde. I don't know what else to say. It's just fucking unreal. I never thought I would find an album like this, and here it is, man. If you guys out there in the comments can find me another album that's a death metal album, not just a death metal album, but that's a tech death album played by tech death, elite tech death musicians, that's this weird and this avant-garde and this progressive, I would love to hear it. Because in my opinion, shit like this doesn't just fall off trees. This is not something that you see walking down the street in your neighborhood on a Sunday. This is definitely different. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and let the rest of this thing play out. I forgot to say how long the song was at the beginning. It's 8 minutes and 31 seconds, so we're going to let the rest of it play. Was incredible. The avant-garde influences, the progressive metal singing, the vocals, I mean, the death metal, the insane solos. I mean, it was all there, man. Like, that song was almost exhausting. I love that song. That's probably my favorite song on the whole album. Like, I can't find a flaw in that song, especially somebody like me. I mean, my three favorites genres of all time. You're looking at avant-garde, progressive, and death metal, you know. Those are my three favorites. And that song right there had all three in there, all mixed up together. I'm just not used to hearing that. And it's scrambling my brain a little bit. I thought that from beginning to end, that was the most engaging song that they've written on this album. And there have been a lot of good songs on this album. Interstellar Boredom was good. In Turmoil, Swirling Reaches was a modern prog, you know, home run. Liquid Anatomy was more traditional. As Decreed by Laws Unwritten, kind of an homage to Gojira in certain respects. Colonel Panic sounded like Rush on steroids. Azagthoth was really good, sounded a little bit like, reminded me of their first album a lot more. This album is badass, man. This is really good shit right here. I don't know if I like it as much as the first album, but I'll have to go back and listen to both of them to really make a clear judgment on that, because right now, I'm still sort of swimming in this one. I'm really just enjoying this thing right here, and I think that this is going to appeal to a very specific type of metalhead. I think for a lot of people that are in the death metal world, this is going to sound too progressive for them. It's going to be too weird. But for somebody like me who already likes all that shit, this is right up my alley right here. This is so cool, man. I'm going to go ahead and tackle this final track. This is Rise of the Cephalopods. Track 8, it's the closing track. It's 19 minutes and 41 seconds. So guys, if you watched my Wolves in the Throne Room Diadem of 12 Stars video, they had a 20-minute closer on that one too. That song, what I did was I broke it up into sections or segments of 7 minutes. So I think that's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to go ahead and pause it at 7 minutes and then pause it again at 14 minutes and then let the rest of the album play out, because it's just a lot of music to try to take in all at once and react to all at once without saying anything, you know, because I'm going to end up forgetting what I wanted to say. This is the final track. This is Rise of the Cephalopods. Let's do this. So I loved the last like minute and a half, 2 minutes. Like this shit is great death metal right here. It is tech death. That's exactly what I want to hear. It's the riffs are just mind melting again. It's so inventive and creative. I just love that from these guys. I just wish they would do it more on this album, man. It seems like they're playing around with so many other styles and genres, and they're so good at making fast, precise death metal. I can't tell these guys what to do, and I still think that what they've done so far is good, but like, for example, with this song started out, the first 2 minutes were acoustic, which is fine, but it just seems a little bit unnecessary for these guys. It'd be like somebody walking around and let's say they have a diamond in their pocket, right? Let's say they have a diamond in their pocket. They're going around town. There's all these people willing them to give money for it. They don't ever want to pull the diamond out of their pocket. They want to just keep it in there. And then they walk around and they want to try to do business with like ones and fives and $10 bills. It's like, man, you got a freaking gold mine right in your pocket. You just pull it out and use it, you know? That's how I feel like with these guys. They're so talented in that area, but the thing about it is you have to have a little bit of empathy as a fan, you know, for musicians who have already been making a certain kind of music for years and years. I mean, I don't know when these two started writing the sort of fast technical death metal, but I know it's been at least 10 years. You know, they're wanting to try something different with this album, and I totally get that. This song, though, especially the last... I'm going to go back and play some of these riffs for you guys, because these are... That sounds like Nevermore, by the way. That sounds like Jeff Loomis, but hold on just a second. Let me continue. Just that section right there, man. You've got to be fucking kidding me with that, dude. That is so outrageous. I'll just play it again. It's like all of a sudden they went from being Jeff Loomis to Michael Keane, you know, in the space of like 20 seconds or 10 seconds. I am really happy with this album. I feel like this album, on a scale so far of 1 to 100, is maybe at like an 85. If they had tried to craft another amazing tech death album, I think it could have been like a 98, you know, or a 99 for me. But, you know, it's their music. They can do what they want to do, and I'm not going to fault them for experimenting with these other genres. I think it's healthy. I think it's great. I miss some of the tech death brilliance that I used to get 10 years ago or 6 years ago pretty consistently from certain bands. We don't really get that as much anymore. We get it from some people, but not a lot of people. So I love it when they pull that out, because it just makes it's one of my favorite subgenres. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and continue. I'll stop it again at 14 minutes. Yeah, this last 7-minute section right here contained one of my favorite, again, one of my favorite death metal parts or riffs or sections on the whole album. It's right up there with the beginning of Chaos Theory and Practice. It's the one we just were in the middle of right now. So badass. It sounds like some of the Faceless, like their older material, like off of Planetary Duality a little bit to me. But so far, I don't know what to say. There's so much going on in this song. It's so much to take in all at once. It's hard to do, guys, like a 19, almost 20-minute long tech death song. I'm trying to work my way through it as I can. But yeah, I really loved some of this. Reminded me of Cynic a little bit. But honestly, I think that they draw a lot from Spiral Architect as well, man. And Nevermore a little bit. But this, when he starts singing clean like that, it's got the effects on it. It reminds me of Cynic. I mean, we've heard stuff that sounded like Gojira. Heard stuff that sounded like Nevermore. Heard stuff that sounded like Cynic, Spiral Architect, Haken, Rush. I feel like this is an amalgamation of all of their progressive metal influences. I mean, that's pretty special. That's pretty cool. I wonder maybe what these guys actually listen to on a regular basis now. I wonder if they even listen to much tech death. Based on this album, I would think that they may be moving on to some other genres and maybe trying to get away from that a little bit. Now, there's still a lot of tech death in here. Don't get it twisted. But I'm just saying, I wonder if on the day-to-day, if they really listen to very much of that type of music anymore, because it seems like, with this album anyway, they may be attempting to kind of redefine their sound a little bit. I don't know if this is going to be like a one-off, or if they're going to continue in this mode, but it definitely has that feeling like, hey guys, we're ready to evolve, we're ready to move on from this thing that we've done. Also, the guy's voice, I want to say, it's not the greatest voice. I think it's Grossman. I think it's the drummer. It's not the greatest voice in the world, but it actually sounds pretty cool. But you know one thing? I actually like it more. Instead of whenever he's singing real high, I like his voice better when it's real low, you know, and it's got kind of that like phlegm and grit in there, and it sounds real eerie and real creepy and really cool. I really like that. But the guy can actually sing pretty well, so I'm surprised by that. I'm going to go ahead and try to finish this thing out. We've got 5 minutes and 41 seconds left. Okay, Lucas, man. Please don't outro this way. Thank God, dude. God, man. What was that? I actually loved the way that song ended. I loved how it got a little bit chuggy and then the acoustic guitar, brought us home at the very end. But I have to say, before that happened, like the 17-minute mark, was some of the best death metal I had heard this year. Yes, hit the 16-minute mark. Wow. See, that is what they're capable of. That's why I say, like, that they should do that more. Because it's not like I don't appreciate prog, it's not like I don't appreciate avant-garde, and it's not like I don't like a lot of these bands that they're referencing on this album, per se, but I think that these guys in particular, man, and they've already done the death metal thing for a long, long, long time, so like I said, it sounds like they're ready to move on from that a little bit. At least aesthetically, like, still do death metal, but take it into a little bit different direction. But a reason I keep harping on the death metal, like the pure tech death stuff, is because listen to this stuff. Listen to this shit, man. I'm not going to bore you guys with listening to the whole thing over again, but that's why I say what I said about the tech death aspect of the music. I wish, I just wish they would focus on that a little bit more. You can still be progressive and still be avant-garde and still be all those things, and make a tech death album that's all those things, but maybe have it be more of a dusting or a coating of it. Don't have maybe as much of the fundamentals of the music itself be steeped in these other genres, because that's not really what you guys are, that's not what you're best at, you know? I thought a lot of this songs like In Turmoil, Swirling Reaches, for example, like a song like that that's more of just a modern prog song, I thought that was really well done. And Colonel Panic was well done also. But I just think that, you know, these guys make pretty good progressive metal music, but they make elite world-class tech death. I don't know. I don't know if you guys see this video. I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know what you want to do. But I thought this album was great. I think 4 out of 5 on Angry Metal Guy is pretty good for this. I don't know if I would change that too much. Maybe I might bump it up a little higher than that. Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I'm definitely going to be purchasing this thing because I want to hear this thing on a consistent basis. I think this, even though it's got all these different influences from other genres, it's still better than a lot of the tech death that comes along, you know, especially in certain spots like Chaos Theory in Practice, different sections of Rise of the Cephalopods, Interstellar Boredom. I thought those were all brilliant. In Turmoil, Switching Reaches was also brilliant. Liquid Anatomy, I'm not as high on, the title track, but Azagthoth and As Decreed by Laws Unwritten, I thought those two were really good. So really, I had about 6 songs on here that I really loved, and then 2 songs that I was kind of just wishy-washy on. So for me, overall, that's a good album. If I get 6 very good songs out of an album, then I'm usually happy with it. So yeah, that's it for the album, guys. Next is going to be your subscriber requests. So we're going to start out, I'm not going to tell you guys what they're going to be. There's going to be 3 subscriber requests coming up, okay? And then I'm going to go back to doing some more of my handpicked stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed these 3 that I handpicked. I hope this kind of shows you that, hey, I don't have shitty taste in metal, right? Or, you know, at least I'm good at picking metal albums that I haven't listened to yet, you know. But we had, the 3 I picked were the Amorphous Queen of Time, the Altars of Grief Iris, and then A Liquid Anatomy by Alkaloid. Those are all 3 very good. You know, I want you guys to keep requesting stuff. So even if I listen to something and I don't enjoy it, and I don't end up posting it on the channel, don't get discouraged. Don't think that you only get 1 request. You can make as many requests as you damn well please. If I don't enjoy something that you recommend and I don't put it up on the channel, it's not a failure of mine or of yours. Just request something else, man. You never know. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers who continue to support the channel. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is Metal Album Reactions, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.